In today's video, we are going to study Caro Kann classical variation, and for that instance, I have taken a game between two masters, out of which one with the black played the Caro Kann Defense classical variation. Caro Kann is considered to be a very solid opening, and it usually creates semi-open positions, not completely open positions. And there are some very sharp variations in Caro Kann, and usually it is considered to be a very solid and positional maneuvering type of opening. When it is solid and positional, then you don't have to memorize a lot of moves or opening moves, but when it comes to very sharp lines, then you have to memorize a sequence of moves in the defense. So let's start with the game. I'm going to flip the board for you people to understand better that how black plays or how black responses as Caro Kann. E4, C6. The reason behind is that I'm going to hit the center by the sport of first playing this move to C6. D4 was played, immediately taking control of the center by white. D5, indirectly hitting the center. Now here the move in the game which was played was knight d2. Here are different type of responses. Knight could play to c3, and white could also play f3, and f3 is a basically called a fantasy variation. We will discuss that later on because they all are very theoretical and they'll need some 10 videos to 12 videos of 1 hour each to let you people understand that what these variation or theory is about. So knight d2, d into e4, knight into e4, and bishop to f5, developing the bishop on the tempo on this knight on e4. The knight gets out of the Hamsvi and knight g3, bishop g6, eyeing this diagonal. Remember that in Caro Kann, white tries to exchange his white square bishop with black's dark square bishop on g6. The reason is that black's bishop is more active than white, and white is going to try to attack the king side, and light square bishop is a great defender for the black over here. So white exchanges it in the opening. We will see in the following moves. Knight f3 was played and knight d7. If we play some another move like e6 or knight g to f6, white would immediately play the move knight to e4, and then he would play this move f4, strengthening the center. And it would not be easy for black to ask white to vacate the square by his knight. So knight d7 was played, immediately taking control of e5 square. If white plays this move e5 over here, he would immediately take the knight. h4 was played, threatening this bishop. That I'm going to play now h5, and I'm going to take your bishop. So here h6 was played to create a room for this bishop on h7. h5, bishop h7, and bishop d3. Now you understand the reason behind that that this is the greatest defender of the light squares of black, these light squares. And white's bishop is not so active than this black bishop. And if white has to attack on this king side, like playing the moves like this, then he have to exchange this black bishop over here on h7. So bishop into d3, the standard move, queen into d3, e6. The reason behind playing this move e6 first instead of knight gf6 is that if white plays the move bishop to f4, then black is going to immediately give the check. I'm going to show it on the board. For example, if here white plays the move bishop f4, then queen is going to give the check on a5. Bishop comes back, then bishop to b4, and the pawn is going to be played to c3. Bishop comes back to e7, and it has achieved what black wanted to achieve, that now white is not going to castle queen side because his king side is weak due to these squares. Now here if white plays the move c4, then queen comes back over here to c7, and now white is not going to castle over here, he is going to castle over here on king side, and game is positional and black has achieved the equality in the opening. So after e6, bishop d2, stopping white for giving the check over here. So knight gf6, developing the knight, long castle, bishop e7, developing his piece, his bishop to e7. It is better to develop it here, not over here, because whenever rook to e1 and knight comes over here or knight comes over here, there might be some type of tactical threats over on these pawns. So the standard move is bishop e7, king b1. For future prospect is white plays this move, castle, queen e2, and this is the start of low pawn system in Caro Kann Defense classical variation. Here we consider there are the main move is knight e4, and after knight takes knight, d into e5, queen takes this queen on d3, and to avoid this, the trade of the queen, this move is being played, queen to e2. Now after that, if black plays for example something like over h5, now when knight to e5, now knight takes into knight and pawn takes into knight, then this half file is opened and white has a threat, black has a threat. White has a threat on black's queen that this bishop could take this pawn, and black have to scare his queen first. And the main reason behind white was to avoid the exchange of these queens. So due to this reason, black played the move queen to e2 first. After that, queen b6, knight e5, and rook fd8. As when queen is not here and our queen, we have moved the queen to b6, then there is no need to exchange this knight on e4, e5 immediately. Rook h1, centralizing the rooks. c5 was played. Now hitting on the wings on the queen side, because white is going to try to play over here by playing these type of moves on the king side, and in that instance black is trying to play on the queen side. D into c5, bishop into c5, knight d3. Hitting this bishop over here, controlling these squares, b4, c5, e5, and this f4 squares. And future white is going to play these moves, f4, going to remove this knight from here, and is going to play this move knight to e4, and then he is going to play this move g4 and attack on king side, black's king side. Bishop e7 was played and f4. White is going with his plan. Rook ac8, black is counter-attacking the queen side. f5 was played, and this was the ws move. To play this move, white should have prepared first. And how is that? That is by playing this move bishop e3, controlling the bishop of this diagonal. Then when the queen moves to queen b5, now as this pawn is threatened over here, but it is protected by the queen on e2, now white could move this knight over here, and then he can move this pawn to g4. So after f5, bishop d6 was played, immediately hitting this knight over here, and white has to protect it first. Knight e4 was played, and pawn into f5, e into f5. Now black has taken this pawn for free. Bishop e5. White is saying that you may take my bishop, dark square bishop, and I am going to take this bishop or this knight, and these pawns will be tripled on one file, on f5, and white will have been great edge over here. So f into e4, white sacrifices his queen over here. Bishop into b6, e into d3, queen into d3. Instead of playing this move queen into d3, it was better to take it with the rook, threatening this bishop over here and developing the rook from here and doubling this rook on d5. It was better. But white took it with e into d3, queen into d3, and knight into b6. And now after this bishop moves to anywhere, queen is threatened and black has a tempo on the queen. So queen moves to f3 and knight c4. A beautiful move, centralizing the knight over here in the center and protecting this bishop on d6. a4 was played and rook c6. It has never been easy to play. It has never been easy to play the move It has never been easy to play the moves like these or play this game without queen, unless you know that how to play with minor or passive after giving away the queen. Now see, black has 3 pieces for the queen and black is better. 2 rooks are equal, and for this queen black has 3 pieces and the pawns are equal. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. It is a tricky position to play and to handle because queen is a queen, but black has an advantage that he has 2 knights and bishop for a queen. So after rook c6, rook d4 was played, hitting this knight over here on c5 and doubling the rook on d5. Rook dc8 was played, now controlling this half open file and bringing this rook out of the pin. c3 was played, solidifying this square, this rook on d4. a6 was played and g4, attacking the king side, a minority attack. b5 was played, opening up the queen side. A into b5, a into b5, and strengthening this knight over here. You can't take this pawn immediately over here on b5. Rook e d1, doubling the rook on e5. Knight e8 was played. Rook f1, hitting this pawn on f7. Rook c6, rook c7, protecting this pawn on f7. Rook f d1, again bringing the rook to this open file and hitting this bishop over here on d6. Rook a7, rook d5, threatening this pawn over here. Rook b8 was played, protecting this pawn. Now you see the structure, everything of black is protected. This bishop is protected twice. This knight is protected by this pawn on d5, and this pawn is protected by the rook on b8. And black, this rook is controlling this rank. Rook on a7 is controlling this rank, and it is also taking control of this full open file a file. So rook 1 d4 was played. Rook e7, bringing the rook to the open file. Queen f2, controlling the square. e1 in the white's territory, that black would not give check over here. Rook e6, then again controlling this, protecting this bishop, now thrice. g5 was played in this game, and that was the obvious move. Instead of it, it was better to play the move b3 here, asking black that I don't like your knight over here on c5. You must move it to somewhere. And knight e3, rook into bishop, knight into rook, rook into d6, rook into d6, queen into knight, and this position is a draw actually, because in the end game 2 rooks are better than the queen, and this white is going to exchange these 2 pawns for black's this 1 pawn, and then this is a draw. proper draw. So g5 was played, and that was the obvious move. H into g5, rook into g5, and bishop e7. Black plays a complete perfect game. His every move was perfect. And this game illustrates the value of the minor pieces and the handling of the minor pieces. See how black is handling his black pieces, his pieces on the board. Although he's a queen down, but he's handling his minor pieces with great accuracy. Rook d7 was played. At last, white is able to bring his rook to 7th rank, but is not doing much over here. And black in this position has a great advantage. Knight ed6, developing his knight now. Queen a7, bringing the queen on the 7th rank for the attack on this f7 pawn and attacking this rook on b8. Rook b e8, strengthening this rook on e6, and going to double, actually doubling the rook on e file over here. That now I am going to move my bishop to f6, and I am going to play this rook into your territory. Rook g2 was played, taking control of the 7th rank. Bishop f4 was played to stop white from playing this move to h6. Queen d4, bishop h6, and there is actually a lot of maneuvering in this game which happened. Now we quickly go through the moves. We will make another video on the end game, but you till present you have understood that how to play with the minor pieces, how to take control, how to support your pieces when you don't have a queen and you have an edge. For example, here black has 3 pieces against the queen, and he's supporting every piece, and he's all making the moves which are supporting other pieces and also developing them. After bishop h6, now white can't move this pawn over here, and black has an extra pawn, and which is properly protected. Rook c7, knight e4, queen d7, knight ed6, queen c6, rook f8, queen a6, knight d2 check, king c2, knight c4. See how now black is developing the pieces in the white's territory. Rook c6, knight e3 check, king into d2, knight into g2 check, and black is now above in material. King goes back, knight e3 check, king b1, rook e5. When you are above in material, why to exchange the pieces? There is no reason for that. And if here black exchange the rook over here and queen takes it, then this pawn is going to fall, and then white has some counterplay. And why to give the white the counterplay when you are better in your position? So rook c8 was played, saying that I am going to exchange one of the rooks at every cost. Rook into c8, queen into c8 check, king h7, queen d7, hitting this pawn over here and hitting this pawn on f7. Rook f5, queen e8, hitting this pawn again hitting this pawn on f7, again hitting this pawn on b5, and now attacking this knight, that whenever you moves this bishop to somewhere else, I'm going to take this knight. Bishop f4, queen e7, knight c4, b3, knight e6, queen e2, king h6, queen f3, bishop e5, queen d3, rook into h5. Now see, black has complete 3 pawns and white's 2 pawns are going to fall, and these pawns are going to move forward. And queen, and white's queen is unable to stop them. The game continued for around about 3 to 4 moves, and then at last white threw the tower. c4, b into c4, bishop into c4, rook h1 check, queen a2, and g5. And white is unable to stop this pawn. There is no way. So at last, white resigned over here. And black played a great game, and it is a great instructive game to understand that how to play with the minor pieces and how to slightly develop your pieces in a position. First, you strengthen them, you come to the defensive end, and then you play offensive defense, and then completely you go for an attack. So if you like my video, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you.